You've hired help. You're finally breathing. But before long, things fall apart again. In today's episode of The Bookish Mind, we unpack the adolescence of a small business and why letting go without leadership only leads to burnout.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
Today, we're really getting into something I think a lot of people will recognize. We're digging into some source material about that moment, that specific point when a small business owner decides, okay, I just cannot do this all myself anymore.
Right, that tipping point.
Exactly. And you hire someone, it feels like, finally, the solution. You can breathe. But what these notes suggest is, well, maybe that's not quite the end of the story. It's often just the start of a whole new kind of chaos.
That's a great way to put it. The material calls this stage adolescence, and it usually follows what they call infancy, that phase where you, the owner, are literally everything. The technician, the manager, the salesperson, sometimes even the cleaner.
Oh, yeah. Doing it all. Completely overwhelmed.
Totally. You're drowning. Maybe in work you don't even like or aren't very good at, frankly. And then you hit that crisis point. You just hit the wall. You can't keep going like that.
And the notes are really clear here. That decision, right then, I need help, that's the trigger. That's when your business, according to this source, steps into adolescence. It's not gradual. It's tied right to that decision, often born out of, well, sheer desperation.
Absolutely. It's usually not some grand strategic plan. It's a reaction. It's driven by pain. And the material stresses, if your business survives infancy, this isn't really optional. You have to go through adolescence.
Yeah.
And getting help is the defining feature of that transition. It's just the next step.
Okay, so you decide you need help, but the kind of help you look for first seems really important for understanding this stage. The notes say it's almost always technical help.
Almost always, yeah. Think about the owner. They're usually what the source calls a technician at heart. Their comfort zone, their whole identity is wrapped up in doing the core work, baking the bread, fixing the code, whatever it is. So when they're overwhelmed, who do they look for? Someone to help with the technical stuff, the tasks they hate doing or just physically can't keep up with anymore. They're not thinking, I need a CEO. They're thinking, I need someone to do this specific thing.
So the expert baker who started a bakery isn't hiring a marketing director first. They're hiring another baker, or maybe someone just to handle the counter and the overflowing inbox.
Exactly that. And the source gives examples. A sales type owner hires production help. A production guru hires sales help. But it flags one area, one technical area, where almost everyone seeks help first.
Given what most people seem to dread about running a business, I'm going to guess it's the money stuff, the books.
You nailed it. The notes really hammer this home. If there's one thing the technician owner tends to avoid, or let's be honest, neglect, it's the bookkeeping, the finances, managing the cash flow. It feels like a distraction from the real work.
The work they actually enjoy.
Right. So very often, that first hire, it's someone to handle the books.
And this leads perfectly into the example in the notes, which is just so vivid. Hiring Harry, the 68-year-old bookkeeper. You can almost feel the owner's mix of hope and maybe panic.
Harry is the perfect symbol of this moment. The notes describe him decades of experience, 50-plus years doing books. He knows his stuff. And crucially, he spent 22 years doing books for a company just like yours. Seems like the perfect solution, right?
Absolutely. And the owner's preparation, it sounds almost ceremonial. Spending the entire weekend getting ready, clearing off that desk piled high with, who knows, unopened mail, statements, invoices.
Starting to create order out of chaos?
Yeah. Arranging everything just so. Even the little touches, the coffee cup, the cushion. You can picture the owner just desperate for this to work, pouring all that nervous energy into making it perfect for Harry.
It's a huge moment. The source identifies this as critical. The arrival of that first employee hired to do something the owner either doesn't know how to do or, more likely, actively dislikes and has been putting off. Harry's showing up that Monday morning. That's the real start of adolescence.
And that symbolic transfer. Moving the actual books. From the owner's desk, representing chaos, maybe guilt, over to Harry's clean desk, representing hope, order.
But there's a vulnerability there, too, isn't there? The source talks about a secret Harry is about to uncover.
Ah, yes.
The minute he opens those books, he'll see the truth.
Yeah.
That the owner, despite running this business, might not actually have a clue about the finances. The numbers don't lie. They tell the story the owner might have been trying to ignore.
That's really uncomfortable. The person you hired to fix your biggest mess is also the first person to see just how big that mess is. Maybe even see where you've been, incompetent.
Exactly. And the owner's thinking, will he laugh? Will he quit? There's this underlying fear that this seasoned pro will look at the missing receipts, the late billing, maybe worse, and just walk right out.
But he doesn't walk out.
No. And then comes the relief. The sound of Harry actually working. That quiet click-clack of the calculator keys.
Oh, the notes describe that so well. It's like music. It means he's still there, he's tackling it, the owner can hardly believe it, and then that feeling washes over them.
Yeah, that huge liberating thought.
I don't have to do that anymore.
That phrase captures it perfectly. It's pure liberation. Freedom from this task that was maybe crushing them or that they just couldn't get a handle on. It's like coming up for air. And this feeling, this newfound freedom, it triggers an internal shift.
The manager part of the owner, which has been kind of buried under the technician's workload, starts to wake up a bit. And the technician, exhausted from wrestling with the books, gets to take a nap, metaphorically speaking.
That's a good way to see it.
Do.
This internal shift lets the owner think about managing, maybe even planning a little, because they're not constantly being dragged back into that task they hated. But, and this is a big but in the source material, here comes the pitfall.
Okay.
Because the owner isn't practiced at managing, they don't have systems, they don't really know what delegation should look like. This freedom takes a specific and ultimately damaging form.
Which the notes call management by abdication, not delegation.
That difference is everything. Delegation is active. You assign the task, sure, but you also set expectations, you check in, you have ways to monitor quality, you provide support. It's involved. Abdication. Well, that's just handing it over and running for the hills.
Washing your hands of it.
Completely. It's, here, you do this, followed by the internal thought. Who? Done. Never have to think about that again. You don't just delegate the task, you delegate the entire responsibility for its success without providing the tools or oversight.
So it's not just Harry do the books, it's Harry do the books, and then the owner essentially pretends bookkeeping doesn't exist for them anymore.
That's the essence of the abdication trap. And initially, it feels amazing. For a while, the owner is free from that one specific burden. But it rarely stops there, does it?
No, the notes say it expands. The owner starts seeing Harry not just as the bookkeeper, but as sort of a general problem solver, someone to dump other annoying tasks on.
You got it. The picture painted is Harry catches up on the backlog, maybe has a bit of breathing room, and the owner thinks, hey, Harry's sitting right there. Maybe he can grab the phone when I'm tied up. And then it becomes, well, if he's answering the phone, maybe he can handle the mail too and sort out shipping and receiving. And then he's already talking to people on the phone. Maybe he can handle some basic customer questions. It just keeps accumulating. Harry becomes the recipient of anything the owner finds distracting or just doesn't want to deal with.
And from the owner's viewpoint, during this time, life is actually getting better. Way better. The notes talk about this dreamlike state. Longer lunches, maybe leaving a bit earlier.
Focusing only on the parts of the business they like or think are the important parts, maybe sales, maybe product development. The immediate payoff of offloading tasks, even badly, feels like a huge win.
And their communication with Harry, it reflects this hands-off approach. Harry comes asking questions, needs guidance.
And the owner, busy with their other fish to fry or just enjoying the freedom, waves him off. Just handle it, Harry. No details wanted. The goal is just make the problem disappear. Don't bother me with it.
And often the business actually grows a bit here, right? Because the owner is freed up to focus on something.
That's a really key point. Yes, there's often some growth, which just reinforces the owner's belief that this system, or lack thereof, is working brilliantly. So the workload increases. Harry says, boss, I need help. And the owner, deep in abdication mode, says,
Hire someone.
Exactly. You handle it, Harry. Hire who you need. So Harry brings in more people, a shipping clerk, maybe someone on the production floor, maybe a junior sales assistant. And the owner looks at Harry like he's some kind of miracle worker.
Oh, wonder.
Right. They're not thinking about how Harry is managing these people or what training they're getting or if there are any processes in place. Spoiler, there usually aren't because the owner abdicated that too. Harry's just handling everything else. And the owner feels like the boss, finally doing only the work they love.
The notes call this the best of all possible worlds.
Temporarily.
Yeah.
It's built on sand. It's an illusion. Because this state, built on abdication, it just can't last. The breakdown is coming. That's the next phase.
And it often seems to happen suddenly. The dream pops.
Yeah.
Usually triggered by a series of crises hitting one after another. The source gives 3 really potent examples.
Yeah, first, the angry customer call. Someone complaining about shabby treatment, maybe from that new person Harry hired. The owner hears this and is instantly furious, thinking, who was it? That never happened when I handled things.
Right. Private steaming.
But The customer's threatening to walk. So it's immediate damage control. The owner has no idea why it happens systemically, so all they can do is promise, probably through gritted teeth, I'll look into it.
Then the next call comes, the banker. This feels like a direct result of letting Harry run the books without any oversight.
Almost certainly. The banker's on the line, the account is overdrawn, the owner's heart just sinks. That feeling of how did that happen?
Because they genuinely don't know. They abdicated.
They wash their hands of it. Exactly. And the banker gives a warning, watch it, or we'll have to take steps. Again, the owner's reeling, scrambling. All they can offer is that same empty promise. I'll look into it. No clue how.
And the third crisis in the notes, the supplier call. This shows the problem isn't just money or service, it's operations too. A big order placed incorrectly.
Yeah, messed up badly. Causes a 10-week delay, and worse, extra costs the owner now has to just eat. This points to failures in ordering, inventory, maybe communication things likely dumped on Harry or his team without clear procedures.
The owner's reaching for the antacids.
Asking again, how did that happen? And the supplier is fed up, talking about other options. And the owner, same response, I'll look into it. It's clear these aren't isolated incidents, they're symptoms. The system is broken because there's no system.
And it's not just these external crises. The owner starts seeing the problems firsthand. Stuff happening inside the business, done by the people Harry hired.
Exactly. The notes give these gut-level examples. The owner walks out to shipping, sees a package wrapped terribly, sloppy, looks unprofessional, done by, quote, some kid Harry hired. Or they walk by production and see someone doing a task completely wrong. An inefficient method, maybe even unsafe. Something the owner, as the original technician, knows instinctively is incorrect.
And the reaction isn't measured. It's not, let's talk about training or let's set up quality control. It's just immediate, explosive anger.
Right. Who taught you that? Didn't anyone show you that kind of thing?
And right after the anger comes the impulse.
The impulse that takes over, the technician reflex, here, give it to me, I'll do it myself. Taking the task back right then and there.
And this isn't just a one-off. The notes show this becomes a pattern. The owner jumps back into shipping. They jump back into production tasks. They even take over customer problems from the new salesperson, grumbling, when I handled his account, we never had these issues.
The refrain is always the same. Give it to me. I'll do it.
And the notes give that great perspective shift. Imagine being the employees, the shipping clerk, the production person, hired by Harry. Suddenly the owner swoops in, yells, takes over their job. They just look at Harry bewildered.
Like, who the hell was that?
And Harry, his reaction says it all, just a shrug.
Oh, that was just the boss.
Yeah.
50 years of experience summed up in a shrug. I've seen this movie before.
Harry gets it. He knows this isn't just a few bad moments, this jumping back in, this owner override. It's just the start of the downward spiral. The source calls it a process of deterioration. It happens in every adolescent business that falls into the abdication trap.
It's the point where there are just too many problems, too many balls in the air for anyone to juggle effectively, not just the owner anymore, even with the extra hired help.
Yeah. And the really tough lesson the owner learns, the hard way, is that the balls don't just drop now and then like they might have before. They start falling faster, more often, and the crashes are bigger, more damaging. Because the business is bigger now, and the lack of systems impacts everything. The chaos just gets amplified. And watching this happen, seeing things seemingly fall apart despite having hired help, the owner comes to a conclusion. It makes sense emotionally, but the source says it's flawed.
They look at the evidence, the angry customers, the overdrafts, the messed up orders, the sloppy work, and it confirms their deepest fear, their technician bias. I never should have trusted them. I never should have hired Harry.
I should have known.
Nobody cares about my business the way I do.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
Which leads to all those other thoughts that keep owners stuck. Nobody works as hard. Nobody has my judgment. Nobody has my skill, my passion.
They truly start to believe that their personal effort is the only thing holding it all together. And while founder passion is special, the source argues this conclusion comes directly from the failure of abdication. The owner didn't give people the structure to succeed, so they failed, which proved the owner right in their own mind. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And this flawed belief leads directly to that final damaging decision.
If it's going to get done right,
you're the one who has to do it.
And boom, they dive back in, head first, trying to be the master juggler again, just like in Infancy. But now it's worse, because they also have employees standing around, maybe unsure what to do or just disengaged. The source paints that picture. The adolescent owner just doing it, busy, busy, busy.
Frantically trying to catch every ball, fix every mistake, do all the work, even though they're paying people who are supposed to be doing it.
And here's the painful paradox. The more the owner does, the less the employees do.
It's a vicious cycle.
Totally vicious. The owner jumps in, fixes things, maybe criticizes, takes tasks back. What do the employees learn? The work isn't trusted. The boss will just redo it anyway. Why bother trying too hard?
Yeah.
They pull back. They disengage.
Which then makes the owner feel even more justified. See? I told you. Nobody cares. I have to do it all, so they interfere even more.
And the loop just keeps reinforcing itself. More owner interference, less employee initiative, more owner frustration, more interference. It spirals downward.
And Harry, the wise old bookkeeper, he saw this coming. He knew the boss would interfere. He knew the work would never quite be right in the boss's eyes, partly because the boss kept changing the goalposts, changing their mind about how things should be done.
Harry understood the behavior. But the source takes us one level deeper, to the why. Something maybe even Harry didn't fully grasp. The real problem, it argues, isn't actually the employees or the customers or the bank or the suppliers. It's not even really that nobody cares.
Okay, so what is it then?
The source puts it bluntly. The real problem is the owner. It's that you simply don't know how to do it any other way. You're hopelessly, helplessly at a loss.
Wow, that shifts the blame entirely inward, doesn't it? Away from external factors and onto the owner's own limitations.
It does. Because to break this cycle, the owner needs to change their behavior. They need to stop being just the technician. They need to activate and develop those other crucial roles. The entrepreneur, setting the vision, and the manager, building the systems, creating the structure for others to succeed.
But that's hard. The notes explain why. That technician part, the one that got the business started, it's dominant. It doesn't want to let go.
The technician has to work, has to fix things, has to catch the balls, has to stay busy. That's its nature. When chaos hits, the technician's instinct is jump in, get hands-on, fix the immediate thing. It's the only response they feel truly comfortable with.
Which leads to that really powerful, if counterintuitive, idea from the source. The technician has just hit the boundary of their comfort zone.
This is the core insight. That state of chaos, being overwhelmed, putting out fires constantly, having to jump in because nobody else does it right. Paradoxically, that stress is the technician's comfort zone.
That sounds crazy, but I can see it.
It's familiar. It's where their skills are constantly validated, where they feel needed, essential, productive, even if the whole system is wildly inefficient. Stepping back, designing processes, training people, trusting others, thinking long-term. That's manager and entrepreneur stuff. And for the technician, that feels terrifyingly uncomfortable, unknown territory. The familiar chaos feels safer than that uncertainty.
The source mentions someone specific, Sarah, and how this idea of the chaos being the comfort zone really struck her. A moment of clarity. And maybe for you listening, this hits a nerve too. Do you recognize that feeling, that urge to just take over, that belief that it's quicker, better if you just handle it yourself, that constant busyness fixing things? Could that chaos, strange as it sounds, actually be your comfort zone?
Recognizing that pattern is huge. Seeing that the root of the adolescent struggle isn't just things going wrong, but maybe it's tied to the owner's own ingrained habits, the technician's limits. That's the absolute first step to finding a different way.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap this journey through adolescence based on what we've dug into. It starts with that desperate need for help, leaving infancy behind. You hire someone, like Harry, you feel that initial wave of hope.
You get that temporary freedom, feels amazing. You think you can finally be the boss. But without the right skills or mindset, it turns into management by abdication, just handing things off, no real structure, no oversight.
Which inevitably leads to things breaking down. The crises start hitting. Customers, money, suppliers, quality. It all starts to fray because there's no real management holding it together.
And faced with this breakdown, the owner's technician instinct takes over. They revert. They become the master juggler again, convinced they're the only one who can fix it, the only one who cares enough. I'll do it myself.
Which traps them in that vicious cycle. The more they do, the less empowered the employees become, which proves the owner right, leading to more interference, more chaos.
But the deepest takeaway from the source, it's not really about the external stuff. It's internal. It's the owner stuck in the technician role, operating within a comfort zone defined by chaos and hands-on fixing, unable or unwilling to step into the manager and entrepreneur roles needed for real growth.
Understanding this whole stage, seeing the abdication trap for what it is, and maybe, just maybe, recognizing your own comfort zone in all this, that feels absolutely critical. Not just for the business to survive and grow, but for you, the owner, to avoid burning out completely. Recognizing the pattern is step one.
Absolutely. So maybe here's the thought to leave you with today, drawing from this material. If you find yourself constantly stepping back in, taking over, feeling that familiar frustration that only I can do this right, even though you have people, what does that pattern really tell you about your comfort zone? And if that zone is, in fact, the familiar chaos of doing it all yourself, what kind of internal shift, maybe an uncomfortable one, might be needed to finally let the technician rest a bit and allow the manager and the entrepreneur inside you the space to actually lead and build something sustainable?